Man, you already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Going back to prison as a free man. Today I'm going to speak a little bit on me returning to Greensville yesterday and how that felt. A lot of it I didn't record because I had to take it in. There's a lot of mixed emotions that came with me being there. A lot of feelings I didn't expect to feel came back. A lot of anxiety came back. If you didn't watch yesterday's video of me picking Bubba up, interviewing Bubba, we more or less chopped it up. Go back and watch that. Check out the beginning. Watch the whole video. But today we're going to get into returning to prison as a free man. Some things I want to do as far as returning to the prisons. Some guys I've seen come back to prison. Guys I know that have been to prison time and time and time again, including myself. What we can do to break that. I want to do a couple of responses. And we're going to get into going back to prison. Going back to prison to be in prison. And going back to prison as a free man. It's going to be a good video. A lot of insight. For anybody looking to learn anything. Somebody that really wants that raw emotion and really wants to know how it is and wants to give it to you straightforward. You know, I'm a straight shooter, man. I don't beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat nothing. I tell it like it is. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to get into going back to prison again and going back to prison as a free man. Y'all know how to seen it. You know how to lived it. So let's relive it. My trip to Greensville yesterday was a surreal feeling. It's hard to explain. As I was driving down the interstate, looking at my GPS, knowing that I was headed to a place that I had spent a large portion of my life to, I felt all types of emotions. But more than anything, I felt confused as to why I would ever return to here. Why wouldn't I just tell him to catch the bus and I'll get you at the bus station? And I think part of me wanted to return to a place that, because of my stupidity, I was once housed at for so long. I'd never been on that property unless I was incarcerated. I'd never driven down that road that leads to that prison unless I was in the back of some type of a transport vehicle. Anytime I'd ever been outside that gate, I had shackles on. The only time I'd ever been in that parking lot is when I told you the story of when I came back from the hospital and the sheriff had me in the back seat of the car and I was handcuffed and he had the partition open to let some air. He parked in the parking lot while he checked his firearms in before he could take me into the institution because no firearms are allowed inside the institution. I'd never been there free. I went through, the basic check. When you pull in, they check your temperature. You're trying to watch the COVID thing. Y'all seen all that. And then I parked. Once I parked, I just sat there. Not recording. Not showing anything to the camera. I just sat there looking around. Taking everything in. I was coming to terms with my reality. Coming to terms with the fact that not only what I had done to my life, but what I've done to my life. The beauty in being on that other side of the fence. But it was short-lived. It was bittersweet. Because as I sat thinking how lucky I am to be outside of there, and I sat thinking how good it felt to be in my vehicle and be on the outside looking in. There's a lot of guys I know that are still in there. Guys that committed crimes. Guys that, did the things they said they did and have been sentenced. And I knew that somewhere inside of there, that's where they were right now. I know that place like the back of my hand. I got out the truck. I was going to do some recording as I went up. And instantly I ran into a captain that seen me with my phone in my hand. And it went right back to PTSD mode. I felt like I was locked up again. Just in his demeanor, the way he approached me. Didn't approach me like I was a civilian. Didn't approach me as if he was a civilian. He approached me with his sense of authority, his power, his chest poked out, his uniform. And that's why you see me turn it off. Hey, are you recording? I said, no, I'm on the phone. I knew where it was going from there. I turned it off. After I turned it off, he told me, you can't have your phone. I said, why can't I have my phone? No phones allowed inside the prison. I'm not going inside the prison. Well, you can't have the phone outside of your vehicle. Why can't I have my phone outside the vehicle? Because I said you can't. All right, you need to go put it back in the truck. Now, I know the right thing to do would have been, yes, sir, and turn around and would have put it back in the truck. I put it in my pocket. Because A, I know the rules. These aren't the rules. This is just what you want to do. B, I know you're looking at me, and you can look at me and tell, that's prison ink. That man is an ex-con. He's been locked up. I know he was judging me. Y'all can say whatever. You weren't there. I knew it. He says, hey, I said go put your phone back in your truck. And I turned around and told him, you don't tell me what to do. You don't. I'm not locked up. I'm not doing anything to anybody. I'm not going into the prison. I'm going to walk over and tell that guard right there who I'm here to pick up, and I'm getting back in my truck. Well, you're not going over there to talk to her with that phone in your pocket. Okay. I go over there. Hey, I'm here to pick up Jacob, such and such. Okay, take your truck, pull over there. And I walk by him. I said, you have a good day. I had forgotten to a degree how it felt. And that's probably one of the few times I was able to do what I knew was right. And there was nothing they could do to me. I moved my truck, and my boss, Ken, used to always tell me about the maintenance shop. So this is outside of the prison. We have our maintenance shop in the prison, and then there's a big maintenance shop outside of the prison where all the workers, the outside guys, go in every day, bring stuff in, take stuff out too, that I never see because it's outside the gate. And I remember one of my supervisors telling me about this old pickup truck he drove. And I looked over, and sure enough, to the T, he described it. There was one of my old boss's pickup trucks. I wanted so bad to get out and walk over to that maintenance shop and, hey, how you doing, man? How's it been? But the guards up there were so obnoxious, even the ones walking around. I got out of my truck for a second to breathe. Sir, you need to get back in your vehicle. I'm not allowed to step outside of my vehicle. They were so obnoxious that I didn't go over there. I just so happened to turn the camera on at the point that he was coming out. I didn't even know he was coming out. And recorded him and some other guys coming out. And then we went into the whole rest of the video. I needed that. I needed that. I'm not going to call it a reality check, even though it was a reality check. But a reality check a lot of times is something that brings you back to reality when you're out there. I'm not out there. I don't do anything illegal. I don't do anything I shouldn't do. I don't break any laws. So it wasn't a reality check. It was more or less just reality. That what I've been through continues to take place every day. Men are still locked up. Men deserve to be locked up. Some guys have done bad things. I never thought I would see that place again. Sitting in my truck, I could see through the fence the rec yard that I walked on, I worked out on, I bled on. Rec yards I had fought on. Rec yards I had been beat up on. Rec yards that consumed many, many years of my life. I could see the building that I started off in, the building that I got jumped behind I told you about. I could see 2 buildings down, the building that I lived in for, almost a decade. It was a sickening feeling. No sooner he got in the truck, I got out of there. I left. Went down the street to a store, and I'm talking to him. trying to help him get his wits about himself. I know how it is when you're first released and the feeling that comes with it. But the whole time, my head is still spinning. It's still spinning. I know my dude Too Cool is still inside of there. I know my homeboy Spider is still inside of there. I know DC is still in there. A lot of dudes I know they're still in there to this day because I keep a check on them. Next month, I have to go to Wallens Ridge and pick my brother up. I've never been to Wallens Ridge. But just the act of being somewhere prison-related, where men are incarcerated, the act of seeing the fence, the razor wires, the guards, the certain ones that had those chips on their shoulders, the act of dealing with all that is anxiety at its finest. I actually felt like I was doing something wrong when I was arguing with this man, but I knew I wasn't. Back to making the right choices. 2004, I found myself locked up in Philadelphia. Like clockwork. Not my first rodeo. Been locked up a lot of times in Philly. My subs know that. I go through the Roundhouse. Then I go to CFCF. My Philly cats know all these places I'm talking about. Roundhouse just being a district, like little regional. It's a district jail where you sit for 48, 72 hours. Then you go from there to this CFCF place. And then I leave from there and I go to what's called the House of Corrections. In my time in the House of Corrections, I met a lot of cool dudes. I met a lot of dudes that were off in the head. A lot of dudes that would get out and go on to commit more crimes. And I also met a lot of guys that were on the way to prison. Guys that were waiting to be sent to Camp Hill. Guys that were going to end up, at different prisons throughout Philly. I get this old black man as a cellmate. And dude was a wino on the streets. He drank all day. One of the coolest cellmates I ever had in Philly, man. I'm going to leave his name out of it. But we get to talking one day and he tells me, he grew up where he grew up at in Philly. Born and raised. Went to school out there. This man's 50-some years old. He says, I've been locked up a couple times for, drunk in public. But they would just let me go the following morning. He said, I never got caught up in the robbing and the selling drugs. He said, I used to work and then I hurt myself on one of the job sites. Got hurt pretty bad. And I got put on disability. From there, I started taking pain pills. They cut the pain pills off. And to combat that, I started drinking. So the drinking took control of my life. That would lead me to my little overnight stays. Like I said, they would let me go the next morning. I would go to court and I would get a fine. He said, well, with my disability, I lived with some people. I rented a room from them. And I've been staying with these people for a long time. This is an old man. He said, my routine was the same every single day. He said, I get up, get a little something on my stomach, go out on the front stoop, smoke, because we didn't smoke in the house. Smoke my little cigarettes, talk to people as they go by. And then I head on down to the store and get me either, a couple 40s or a bottle of wine. And I would drink. He said, now I would drink from sun up till sundown, but I ain't never hurt nobody. I ain't never bothered nobody. I walk right by guys fighting. Seeing people get shot right in front of me. And that, that was just part of me living out there. He said I would run through my checks, my disability checks fast. A good portion of it went to paying my rent. Then the rest of it would go to my alcoholism and cigarettes and stuff. So I never really had money. He said people would walk by me, what's up, old head? And they would throw me a couple dollars. He said, so I'm coming back from the store one day and I just scrounged up enough money to get something to drink, some alcohol. He said, I'm walking by the corner boys and they out there. And dude's like, yo, hey, old head, come here. He said, I'll walk over to him. I'm standing there talking to him. And dude's like, what's up, man? You want to make a couple dollars real quick? Like, I don't feel like walking. And he's like, what I got to do? Told him, just walk three blocks down. And we had the chirps back. Then he said, I'm going to let the dude down the street know that you're coming. He gonna hand you something, just bring it back up here to me, man. I, throw you $20, $30. He was like, shit, I just gotta walk down there. Like, ain't nobody gonna rob me. He's like, nah, man, just gonna walk down there. Dude's gonna hand you a bag, just bring it back to me. And here, I give you the money in advance. I know you live out here, you ain't gonna run off. He said, Jay, I walked down to that corner, walked up on dude. He said, as soon as I got there, in the back of my mind, even walking down there, I knew if he was willing to pay me to go down there, it wasn't the act of him being lazy. He was having me go pick something up and bring it back to him that was most likely illegal. He said, I walk up to the dude standing there with 3 or 4 other guys, reaches in his jacket, pulls something out, hands it to me in a brown bag. He said, I don't think none of it. I shove it in the front of my hoodie. He said, I get about a block down the street, and when I do, I look behind me and I see the dudes running that I just came from. I look up in front of me where I'm headed, and those guys are taking off running too. Everybody's running in a different direction. Cops are pulling up on different corners, and they pull up on me. He said, I had a good idea that I had something illegal in my pocket, but I didn't try to run. He said, when they jumped out at me, I was just like, whoa, 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 what's going on? What's going on? He said, they put me up against the car, handcuffed me, searched me, and then that sack that was in the front of, I'd put in the front of my sweatshirt, was 2.5 ounces of crack, bagged up in 20s. He said it was the first time, not the first time I'd ever seen crack, it was the first time I'd ever seen what was in that bag I picked up from them dudes down on that corner. I didn't know if it was a bag of money, a bag of weed, a bag of dope, a bag of coke. I didn't know what it was. I had an idea it was illegal. Ain't nobody gonna just pay me to go pick up McDonald's from 3 blocks down. They sentenced him to 17 years in the Department of Corrections. He's an old man at this point. So by my calculations, he should have gotten out last year, the year before, with the good time up there in Philly. But with his health conditions, his liver issues, other issues he told me he had, I'm not even sure he made it out of prison. I'll never know. It just goes to show you how fast you can go from living like this to being behind that fence that I saw yesterday. How fast you can be in one place and then taking and picking up and putting another. That's distribution of crack cocaine. That's attempt to distribute. That's all these charges. It's a lot of coke. He went on. I went home. He was still there. And, I know 100% he got sent off to prison, because once they sentence you, you don't get to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, I'm just a regular guy, let me go home. I hope that anybody that just heard their story understands how fast life can turn around. How you can go from just having your routine, doing what you do day to day, to being locked up. 17 years, man. And for the cops to run up on them 2 blocks, that means they were watching. They knew that he wasn't no drug dealer. They knew that those drugs didn't belong to him. But at that moment in front of that judge, possession's 9/10 of the law. It didn't matter what they knew. It mattered what they could prove. And what they could prove is that he was caught with a big sack of crack in his pocket. Didn't matter if he had any intent on distributing it or selling it. The fact of the matter is he had it and it was bagged up to be distributed. He played a part in it. And off to prison he went. That man was one of the few people that I had ever met that hadn't been in and out of jail prior to going to prison. Overnight stays, that doesn't count as in and out of jail. That's just, he was drunk walking down the street, blew drunk, went to jail, got out a couple hours later. Everybody I know that I can think of, for the most part, that's in prison or has been in prison, had done a whole lot of stints in jail. They'd all had, myself included, lots of chances to get it right, to do things differently, to learn from their past mistakes. Where we fail is that we think we're smart when it comes to this dumb ish we do out here in these streets, man. We think we're smart when it comes to getting high and nobody can see it. Or you think you're gonna take something from somebody and get away with it. I've told you before, as a criminal, if that's what you choose to be, you have to get lucky every single time. The police only have to get lucky once. With today's technology, the cameras, all these different setups they got, being a criminal is almost just, it's stupidity at its finest. To think you're gonna get out here and do these things and not get caught is just dumb. They have, out here in Richmond, they just started putting them up in the projects and people are pissed off about it, they're mad about it. License plate readers. Things that read your license plates as you go by, so that they can tell if you got a warrant, the registration's wrong on the car, the plates don't belong on the car. They got things to detect gunshots and can almost immediately pinpoint where the gunshot came from. Everybody, almost everybody, has a camera in their possession at all times just by having a phone. I've never met a retired drug dealer. I've never met anyone that was in the game, made enough money to live the rest of their life, and retired. You know where retired drug dealers go? To prison. That's when they retire. You know where dudes who try to make a living off of stealing and robbing and jacking people go? To prison. Picking Bubba up yesterday, that was his third trip. 37 years old. His third time in prison. People said he looks young. It's because he spent most of his life incarcerated. The penitentiary preserves you. You have your runs while you're out here on the streets. If you're doing the drugs and drinking and all that, it reflects. You can see it. But when you start doing years and years and years behind bars, and you're stripped of the alcohol, the red meat, the things that we ingest daily that make us older than we appear, things that kill us daily. When you go to prison, a lot of those things are taken away from you. That's why his appearance is that he's still so young. Because so much of his life has been spent incarcerated. Only time will tell if he'll make it. I'll keep y'all updated. I have high hopes. I'm not going to say I doubt him, but I will say that nothing surprises me anymore. I've told y'all in the past, with my brother going to prison, I took that really hard. I mean, like, it broke me to the point that I just broke down crying one night. Because I had always felt like it was my fault. Like I gave up on him. When in reality, I separated myself from him to protect me and the ones I love from his chaos and his madness. Everyone watching this, whether you've been to jail, been to prison or not, has a choice. You have a choice to go backwards, left, right, or like I do, just keep going straight. I think part of me, I returned to that prison yesterday. After doing this video, I've been thinking about it more as I've been speaking. I think I returned to that prison yesterday and chose to pick my homeboy up so that I could see it. So that I could see it from the other side, because I had never seen it. Even though I know it still exists and I know it's still there and it ain't going nowhere, I wanted to see it firsthand. It was like going to my grave. Because who I was when I got locked up, That person died while I was in prison. I left that person inside that prison and came out the man I am today. That was a blast from the past. It was a trip down memory lane. It was a reality check. The razor wire is still there, and guard towers are still there, and guards are still there. As I sit parked here in a bad neighborhood and my guys are working on this house, these streets are still here. All the options I had in the past, all the choices I made in the past, they're all still here if I want them. Nah, this is what I want. Hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Hope you were open-minded enough to watch the entire video and listen to what I had to say. Yes, I put my gauges back in. For y'all that watch, have listened, my ears have been gauged for a long time. I gauged my ears in prison. I need to do a video on that. That was probably one of the most painful things I had ever been through, is stretching my ears. I slept on one of them wrong one time and it caused it to get infected. So I took my gauges out. They've been out for a better part of a year now. Was at the mall with my homeboy yesterday. Was in Spencer's. I lost my old gauges, picked up some new ones. So my gauges are back, so that's what it is. Raven's in the house. Anyways, I love all y'all. Watch this video again. For anybody that missed anything or thinks that you're smarter than these streets, smarter than these cops, smarter than yourself, you need to play this back. You need to go watch that video with Bubba yesterday and listen to his story. If you're going to be smart for all the right reasons. Everything you want to acquire in this life, you can get the right way. You ain't got to do all that other stuff, man. I know it's hard to separate yourself from people you've known your whole life. It's hard to break those habits. It's hard to get away from the dudes that you consider to be your friends and your family. But I can promise you this. Once you do pull away from them and you start focusing on work every day and what you want in life, you'll get it. As long as they're all around and you're just focused on being another crab in the barrel, that's all you're ever going to be. And you're never going to get above that brim, and you're never going to get out. Anyways, these institutions, jails, detention centers, these facilities, they're all just crazy worlds inside of this already crazy world we live in. And as always, y'all know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to keep you entertained. Are you not entertained? And like always, this is Jay Williams, Let's Live Life. And to all my real ones, and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. And you know how we do. Salute.